Welcome to this brief media engagement following a very successful bilateral engagement with President Trump and the members of his administration. We will commence with a summation from the President of his impressions, particularly what transpired behind closed doors. I hear the foot was, but I will allow the President to elaborate, and thereafter we'll open the floor to questions with a standard format where we first introduce ourselves and we fire questions. Mr. President, I would like to invite you to the podium, please, sir.
Oh, you want me to go?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So I use this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Stick it in the pocket.
Should I? Okay.
Fits.
It does. Well, thank you very much, Vincent. I wouldn't have expected you all to be here. You were there watching everything as it unfolded. And some of you were like getting into the scrum, egging everyone, and asking inappropriate questions. Oh, some of you, yes. But thank you very much for being here. I was really pleased to have a very good Mr. Adrian Go, who is one of our social partners from business, has been part of the strategic team, but in the end, because of the numbering of the delegation, be fully accommodated. I was rather sorry about that, and we tried everything, but they stuck to certain numbers. I was delighted to have the president of COSATU with us, who we were able to muscle in, and also to have the 4 ministers in the delegation. Minister Lamula, of course, International Relations Minister, Minister Tau, Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, and Minister Nchaveni and Minister Steenhuisen. It was a really good, unified, diverse delegation, which was also supported by outstanding South Africans who were golfers and a businessman. Mr. Johan Rupert was there, as well as Eniel and Retief Goosen and President Trump, knowing them and having various relationships with them, regarding great South Africans who he had also wanted to see and to have to participate in this, if you like, bilateral. So in the end, we had a really good bilateral, although a number of issues came up, which all have observed, and we were able to have a robust engagement with Mr. Trump in your presence, and it was also good to have a number of members of the delegation to field a number of either questions or make comments. So that, in my view, was really good, and also to respond to some of your South African questions. Following that engagement, which you all witnessed, we retired to what I think they call the cabinet room for lunch. We had a rather pleasant lunch. It was quite delicious, and 3-course meal, and we were able then to have really good in-depth exchanges, Mr. Trump and his other officials. The discussions revolved, of course, around golf, but they also revolved around issues of trade and investment. And we were able to, in discussing all that, want to confirm that there will continue to be engagement between South Africa and the United States officials at an industry level to deal with the package of issues that we had tabled that have to do with trade and investment. And if you like, Minister Tau will be able to outline some of those that are now being given serious consideration by the United States. So I was rather pleased that there's a firm agreement and undertaking that we are going to continue engaging. So there's no disengage. For us, that was one of the key outcomes that we had wanted. Even coming here, we set relations between the two countries and to reposition our relations, which had become contaminated by some of the issues that had been raised during the engagement, or what many people thought was also contaminating relations, for instance, the ICJ case and Ukraine, Russia, and all that. And it turned out that, yes, President Trump's concern is about the safety of people in South Africa, much as he zeroed it down to, say, white farmers. We kept saying there is a security problem, and we're not running away from that. There's criminality, and we even sought to deal with it from its genesis, that in the end, when the economy is not growing, when there's poverty, when there's unemployment, one of the social ills that we get as a derivative is criminality that spreads itself around the country. It's not only on farms or rural areas, it's even in urban areas. So he expressed his views about that, and I was rather pleased that quite a number of our compatriots were able to, Minister Steenhuisen and President of COSATU as well. So in the discussions over lunch, we didn't dwell on that issue, it having been dealt with more thoroughly, the engagement in the Oval Office. However, they did ask, what help do you need? And we said, well, already in South Africa, we're utilizing some technology in one of the areas in our country, which we would like to see if we can be utilized. But the main thing we said in terms of assistance and help is investments. And we harped on that we require more investments from the United States, and we require a more positive disposition from the United States, because once the United States government and the president emits a very positive disposition towards South Africa, it unlocks a lot of investments, and investors would then be willing. We want foreign investment. We want to keep the jobs that we have that have been created by U.S. companies, and we want more and more U.S. companies to come and invest. And Mr. Tau also explained that U.S. companies has invested in a lithium company in our country, and that shows a positive disposition towards South Africa. We want that to increase. And one of the key confidence-building measures or mechanisms is the engagement that is going to continue on investments, on tariffs, and an investment climate creation in South Africa, and access to the American market, and continued discussions over AGOA are now going to ensue much more determinedly going forward. So for us, during the lunch discussion, that was the big takeaway, a very, very positive indication. Of course, we couldn't details, because those details will be ironed out in those engagements. Secretary of Commerce was present, as Minister of Trade and Industry was also present. We also discussed the G20, and we stressed that the G20, having been formed by the United States, of course, together with other countries, it's important that the United States should continue playing a key role in the G20, more particularly because I want to hand over the presidency of the G20 to President Trump in November. And I said, he'll be there. I don't want to hand over the presidency of the G20 to an empty chair. I want to hand it over to him sitting in that chair in November. And he is going to give serious consideration to it. In fact, I expect him to be coming to South Africa, and he, having realized the important role that the United States continues to play in international or multilateral formations or organizations like the G7 and the G20, and he having said, of course, the G7, would be much more impactful with the participation of the United States, as the G20 would be more impactful in global matters with the participation of the largest economy in the world. So my takeaway from that is that G20 participation by the United States is going to be happening. So we're particularly pleased with that. And in the other discussions that happen in various channels, which are also led by Minister Lamola, we will also be dealing with their participation in the various committees and various summits that are taking place on an ongoing basis, because there was a pullback. So we want them to re-engage, and those discussions will then go forward. So all in all, I do believe that our visit here has been a great success. We've been able to achieve what we set out to achieve re-engagement with the US, to put the issues of investment and trade on the table, and to ensure that we continue engaging through the various other formations. It's good that his Secretary of Commerce was sitting right next to him, and they continued exchanging how our continued engagement will happen. So all in all, I'm rather pleased. I go back tonight having a sense that we have done well. I know that many South Africans were filled with a great deal of concern and fear that we will have a Z moment and all that. That did not ensue. And I know that you yourselves as the media, you wanted to see drama and something really big happening. And I'm sorry that we disappointed you somewhat when it comes to that. So, but thank you very much for having, for a number of you, come all the way from home to the White House. And I'm rather glad that they allowed you to come into the Oval Office. And that in itself was good. And they gave us a number of mementos. And I was given a book. So I gave him a book, a golf book, and he gave me a book as well. So that is good. Lots of reading indeed in the future. Thank you very much.